It's the Kink Consultant Podcast, where we're turning up the heat on all things kink and dating, relationships, and pop culture. So close the door, plug in your headphones, and let's get down to it. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Kink Consultant. This week, I am joined by someone who I am a huge fan of. Please welcome Deore, a musician and kinky creator who I have become obsessed with in the last month. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited to have you on. I'd seen your videos. You're absolutely adorable, and I've always loved them. And I don't think it ever really clicked to me that the videos of this adorable girl coming up with different like dom names and stuff to music, I did not realize that that was your music until you, I think, commented on something and you said, I make music about things like this. And it was within one day, your song, Humor Me, made it to the top of my on repeat list. And
Oh my God.
weeks later, it is still there. Like on my phone on Spotify, I listen to this song kind of nonstop. I am obsessed with it. And as soon as it ended up on my on repeat list, I was like, I need to talk to her. I need to understand how she is in my head and likely in the head of so many brats, littles, subs out there. So super excited to have you here.
I'm just so excited to get to chat and talk about this. Music is such a honest form of self-expression for me. And so it just feels really good to be able to connect with people in that way and to just kind of further explain and have conversation.
I guess a good place to start would be I would love to know, how do you identify?
First and foremost, I identify as a bratty sub, and I do lean into the like baby girl realm. So a bratty baby girl sub is, I feel like, the most honest representation of what's going on in here.
This is a personal question that I ask everyone. Like, how long have you known that's what you were?
So it's funny because I've known that I've been into like discipline, so to speak, since I
Yeah.
was in high school. And when I was in high school, like I didn't know that there was a whole community surrounding this at all. Like this was just something that I felt inside and I had no idea there was a name for it. I didn't know that there was a community around it or anything. And so I knew I was like into rougher stuff in discipline back then, but it wasn't until college that I realized that there was an actual like term for this. I started getting involved in the like Reddit communities, like the Reddit
Yeah.
video communities, and started learning a lot. And that's when it kind of clicked. I was like, oh, okay. So like this is what it is. But so it's funny, it's like that the identity kind of came second to just the feelings.
So much of the work I do is around deshamifying kink. And I do that work because I say I've been kinky since I was born, and I've known that I was into discipline since I was maybe 5. And it was really confusing for me. I'm wondering, did you have any embarrassment or shame about being interested in these things?
Oh, hell yes. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Like still to this day, I'm constantly working through it. And it's I guess like one of my passions. One of the things I like to bring up in my music a lot is being kinky and working through that shame simultaneously. Because I feel like just based off of what I've seen online and the discourse and everything in the kink community, I feel like people expect one day they're going to wake up and like not feel any shame, and that's the day that they're going to explore and express themselves, and that's just not it. Like that's just like not how it works. And so when I started making music specifically for the kink community and bratty subs, I had to find loopholes around the shame, but I ended up making some secret social media accounts so I could block all of my like in real life social circles from seeing it, because I was like, I didn't want them to know this about me. Now I don't care, but I wouldn't have gotten to that point had I like had honored those feelings of insecurities that I was feeling and just like held space for it and worked around it versus like being angry at them, like
So
yeah.
you more just carry it with you and like work through it on a regular basis instead of hiding it away. I amen to that though. There is no magic day where you wake up and feel less shame and are ready to explore. It's sort of like you're like, okay, I feel embarrassed or ashamed or a lot of things that society puts on us, and we're going to step forward with it anyway.
Yes. And I feel like having that narrative in music is also like really important because it just speaks truth to how it really is to be someone who is kinky or has unconventional kind of tastes. I love deep diving into that mental space, I guess, and like including that in the music itself, because people I feel like really resonate with that, like as well as feeling that way while also honoring and exploring what your truest, most authentic self at the same time.
And you do that so well. Like, I jokingly posted something like, get out of my head.
Ah,
I felt like, who is this person and why are none of my experiences or feelings totally unique? I mean, I just have lyrics written. I'm like, please
yeah.
explain
Oh,
how
I
you.
love this. Oh my God, this is great. Okay.
Okay, I want a man to wreck me like I wreck me. How are you wrecking yourself? Why am I also wrecking myself? And how did you even come up with this line? Like that, I just spoke to me so much, like hit me to the core. I was like, yeah, that's all I want. Can I just put this on a dating profile?
As a person, like I am a bratty sub, I am kinky, and I also like I have CPTSD as well. So I do have like a mental health thing going on, and I
Yeah.
feel like kink has been extremely therapeutic for me. It's not therapy, but it has really nurtured my soul, like in that way. Sometimes the waters I feel like can get a little muddied in where you're participating in kink and you're like diving into all of these practices that could be perceived as wrecking yourself. And so I'm like a really screwed up part of me in my brain that I know it like isn't right, but it's like if you wreck me and I wreck me, at least we're on the same team, right? Like that wanting for connection, I guess, and
Yeah.
having that the connection in that similarity. It's not healthy, like, but it is who I am. So it's
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think it is healthy as long as it's consensual. And I've never viewed it being on the same team. You're right. It's like, hey, can we like team up here? But also stop that girl from being such a bully to me.
Yeah, literally. It's like, can you be louder than the voice in my head? Can you be stronger and can you overtake the person that lives in me that wants to hurt me? Like that kind of, does that make sense? There is a lot of like shame and fear that exists with my own mental health. And I feel like I take so much comfort and find so much comfort when my Dom shows me that like he is stronger than those thoughts and that person that like, or those parts of me that come out sometimes. And to know that like he's not afraid of that just really, really makes me feel loved and like comforted.
I think I'm my own worst critic. And as in the voice in
Yeah.
my head is the biggest bully. And
Oh
I
my
never think
gosh.
of her like that. But she is. And I'm just looking for someone. Save me might be the wrong word, but it's like, yeah, protect me. Can you like
Yes.
tell her to fuck off
Yes.
in
And
your
like
own harsh way?
like if you can tell her to fuck off, like it's gonna look like telling me to fuck off, but
Yeah.
it's telling her to fuck off. And that's what I need. I guess part of my journey with CPTSD is I struggle a lot sometimes with like mood regulation and stuff like that, which is why songwriting has been so cathartic for me. I hold a lot of shame around those moments where I struggle with that. And so having a partner who is dominant, who can help me and support me in a way that like shows me that he or she or whoever is not afraid of that is like really good. Makes me feel so seen and also just like I'm afraid of me. If you're afraid of me, we can't be like well, then what's gonna happen? Like both of us can't be afraid of me. Like that's
Yeah.
awful.
Like I'm dealing with this bitch every day. If you
Yeah.
can't come in and like be here and stronger, then like you're not strong enough for me.
Yeah.
That's how I view it. Doesn't mean there isn't space for that type of dating as well. It's just not, it doesn't fit this mold. I don't know if I saw this somewhere, you used Humor Me to introduce this to your boyfriend. Is that,
Yeah.
did I make this up?
No. So I'm married to my Dom.
Oh,
We've been married for 8 years now. We started vanilla actually. And so I was the one that like brought up kink to him like a year into our marriage. And we've already been together for 3 years at that point. I mean, we've both been on a learning journey like since that point. But his version of that was like he's learning how to be a Dom. And he is just like the softest, sweetest, most wonderful man like ever. I wrote that song. I wasn't planning on releasing it at the time. I wasn't releasing kinky music music or anything. It was the first kinky song I ever wrote. At the time, I was really craving more like sternness in my relationship, and I just wanted the volume to be turned up a little bit in regards to the intensity of what we were doing. He was working through this conditioning of it's like not being okay to like hit women, it's not being okay to yell at, you know, your partner, like all these things. I was feeling this like frustration, and I just in my head, I'm like, I just need to be clear. Like, I need to just be so clear about this because this internalized shame, you know, makes me want to beat around the bush and not really be as clear as I should be in asking for what I need. And so when you combine that shame of not really feeling comfortable asking for exactly what you need with the conditioning of like feeling like you can't do the thing, I just need to be so freaking brazen about it that it's just like whatever. And so I started, you know, I was just like playing on my guitar and the lyrics like kind of started falling out. And I was like, oh, this is hilarious because it's just like so matter of fact and just flippant almost of just like, I like it when you do all this stuff. And I know it sounds like bad shit, but like I like it. So like I want you to do it. I wasn't planning on releasing it, but I kept like chewing on the song like over a couple weeks, and I was like, oh shit, like this is good, like I think
Yeah.
I was like, I think I might have to release this. We were on a plane a couple weeks later, and he was sitting next to me, and I was like, could you listen to this and like tell me if this is okay, like would you be okay if I released a song like this? He's like, I mean, if you want to, like that's like fine, like blah blah blah. It took about a year to write. I wrote the first half and then like just let it kind of marinate, and then I wrote the second
Yeah.
half. But what was really funny was like bringing it to my producer who I just adore. But he was so amazing and just so accepting. And that was so healing for me. I felt so like accepted for exactly who I was. And also the fact that he had helped build it with me. So it wasn't just like a passive acceptance, but it was like a active acceptance of like, oh, we're gonna build this song together. I like, oh my God, I was so overwhelmed with just like gratitude, and it felt incredible, like making that song.
I feel healed through that story a little bit, you know, for someone to go on that journey with you. And I'm just so grateful the song exists. And I'm like, oh, I'm thankful to everyone who was involved in this project. Your husband, he didn't know you were kinky when you first got married. How did you tell him, hey, I need this?
I wrote it on a notes app. Like I wrote a note in my phone, and I was just like, hey, like, can I talk to you about something? And just like had it ready so I could explain clearly exactly what I was asking for and why it would be helpful to me and our relationship if we kind of explored this. And funny enough, our dynamic's 24/7, but I didn't suggest 24/7 because I didn't want to, you know, overwhelm somebody like right off.
Yeah.
He like right away was like, we should do 24/7, like if that's like he was just so like, we're gonna do this, which I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is incredible. It was the best response I could have possibly dreamed of. I was like, this is crazy.
It does kind of sound ideal and not like the
Yeah.
typical response. However, it really does sound like you went about it the right way. You said like this is how it could help our relationship too. So it wasn't just about your need, but like the benefits that could help both of you. Were you guys having trouble in the marriage at the time?
No, like yeah, like I'm the problem child. Like he's great. Like
Yeah.
he's so patient and just amazing. And so we were long distance for about 3 or 4 years at first. We moved to Japan. Like we got married and moved to Japan. And that's when we started our in-person relationship.
How did you
I
meet
don't
him?
know.
How did you know?
So we met in high school. We did high school theater together, funny enough. He didn't date or anything. He wasn't even an option on my radar, like in that way. We graduated and I moved to Richmond, Virginia, which is I was in other bands and I was also in like school and everything. And he had moved to North Carolina for military. And so it was the most inconvenient setup like ever. He had come through Richmond, so he had taken a bus and had a layover in Richmond. And I had just like went out to see him for like the 20 minutes. And then we started talking on the phone and we just had so much fun together and had such amazing conversations, and just it kept like escalating. And then I'm like, we're in a relationship and it's crazy.
So you just finished high school, went your separate ways. Facebook was a thing, so you were still connected. And he was like, I just happened to be going through your town.
Yes.
You want to come say hi. And that's how it all kicked off.
And that's how everything started. Yeah.
How many
Oh,
years after high school is this, by the way?
this is like 1 year. The crazy story. Okay, this is really, really funny. So we were in our relationship, right? We decided we're gonna get married. We decided we're gonna move to Japan. And he's like, we should really do some counseling like before we get married. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. The guy that married us was his like youth pastor from like when he was a kid. And so he did the counseling session for us. I remember him asking some questions and I was like, answers that I could bring up that I was like kinky, but I was like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, there's no freaking way I can say this right now. And so like I just was like, yeah, I'm good.
You remember what kind of questions?
It was just very quick. It was like, are there any like sexual, things that you feel like would be helpful to bring up? And I remember just being like, there's no way, like I'm
Yeah.
bringing that up in this right now, like in front of this guy. And so years passed. My Dom and I are in our dynamic, and the Bratty P just came out. It was last February, and the youth pastor officiant reaches out to me and messages me. He's like, I just want to say that I really, really enjoy your new project. Happy punishments to you.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my gosh, because I wasn't advertising it like that on Facebook because like my social circle's over there. And it turns out that he is a Dom and in his own dynamic. And I was like, whoa, like what is happening?
What?
Yeah. And I
Oh
was like,
my God. Props to the pastor because that's why that question's in there. He's like, let me try and save a bunch of young people. This guy's great.
it was amazing. And I like might have accidentally converted his like sub into a brat. I was like, whoa, full circle.
And this is why the shame around it is so hard because we're all just hiding it and not
Yes.
talking openly about it.
Oh my gosh, we are. And it's so awful because there's like so many opportunities for community. And I think that's why I really enjoy making music that's not super overt because it allows me and people who listen to me to kind of integrate the music into their more daily lives versus during a designated period where they're like, I'm going to engage in this mindset right now because I'm alone and I'm not like out in the wild.
Yeah.
In addition to that, I feel like there's a strong opportunity for community from a musician standpoint because you have people who listen to you and like bond over a mutual thing, and communities will form in that way. And so I was really inspired to like adopt the bratty sub musician identity to merge those two communities together. And so you have the like musician fandom, like so to speak, and then you're also
Yeah.
combining the kink community and using it as an opportunity to be like, you can talk about this stuff if you'd like to, and if you don't, you can talk about music, you can talk about whatever you want. And so my Discord is like set up in that way, and it's such an amazing place. Like I love them all so much, and it's been really special like seeing the relationships that form and just being able to witness everybody in the same room together, building relationships and connections, and just like also having a great time.
Because that's a community you're facilitating that is bringing people together. I've been, as I say, kinky my whole life. When I discovered Humor Me, and there are a number of great songs on the EP. It is just that, this one like sparked. This was like the thing that ignited everything. I found a deeper level of acceptance for myself too. You're right. The music
Oh my
sort
God.
of subverts all of the other blockers that I have up or sort of the defenses and just sort of gets through to me. I'm like, yes, this is normal. And I preach this stuff every day and I still get slightly embarrassed. Like sometimes when I'm talking to a guy and he even says something kinky, I have to like put my phone away for a second because I'm like, oh my God, I'm blushing. This is a lot. I want to talk about the music as well. Like, who is your musical inspiration?
I love Melanie Martinez's music a lot.
Yes.
I think she's fantastic. I also really love Lisa Hannigan. She used to sing with Damien Rice, and her voice
Yeah.
is just gorgeous, like so beautiful. I feel like I'm influenced by artists like Fiona Apple and Regina Spektor, just this
Yes.
poppy, all acoustic kind of vibe. That's kind of what inspires me.
And I love and know everyone you just mentioned. And I'm like, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to tell their partner that they're kinky?
I would say to know what you're going to say beforehand, and if you have to write it down, write it down. When you're telling them about this, really focus on like how it makes you feel, because I feel like people who aren't inherently kinky can relate to that. It's hard to just come out and say like, I like it when you yell at me, or I like it when you treat me, in a specific way. Say like, hey, I feel like my most authentic self, and I just a rush of lovely endorphins and just very happy and safe with you when you show up in this way you're not used to because of X, Y, and Z. That's like way easier to kind of like wrap your head around than to approach it in a more like jarring kind of way.
It's also super important, I think, to have accepted, at least to a certain extent, that you are not a weirdo for wanting these things.
Yes.
Like, it is normal to want them. It's just about explaining and communicating them.
Right, because everybody wants to feel connected and loved and seen for who they are. And you know, these are normal desires. Like everybody has these. It's just that the kinky people are like approach it or experience that is just different. Everybody's different, you know, like this is just like counterculture. What I've seen is culture swings like a pendulum, and eventually everyone in the world is going to be kinky. Like it'll get easier.
I think it's constantly getting easier. I mean, the pastor was kinky in the best way. Not that I have second or third favorites, okay? But Catch Me If You Can is such a fun song.
Thank you so much. I love that song. It's
I
really
feel like that it could be, I mean, all of the songs could be, but it could easily be dropped into any movie and like be on the soundtrack. I thought it was a lot of fun. Can you tell me a little bit about writing that and that
yeah.
song?
It was the first song we started recording with the bratty P, and it was the first time that I was like making a song with my producer, and I could like really clearly see him having a great time. I wanted to write a song that was like bratty, that like I don't know. I love the juxtaposition between like, you can't tell me what to do, but you can if you ask nicely. Like that kind of
Yeah.
like the back and forth, playful kind of like it's a taunt song, you know? And like
Yeah.
the Brad EP, if you listen to it from beginning to end, it's a concept EP. So it's a big story. Catch Me If You Can is very much the taunt of antagonizing your Dom. And so it was so fun to just write, just come up with these little ways of like communicating that. It's like a little taunt mood board, like just a bunch of separate little bits and imagery here and there that kind of explain that.
It sounds that way as you listen to it too. It's sort of like it is the dynamic in one EP and how it
Yes,
plays
yes.
out. Would you be willing to perform a song for everyone who may not have listened to you yet on Spotify, but after this are going to run and listen to the EP?
I would love to. I would love to do
All
that.
right, I would love for you to give us a taster. And it's dealer's choice, whatever you want to play. I am excited to listen to.
So Brat came first. That was the first one. And then when I go out and play in the community, like where I live, I don't really go to kink spaces because I'm like a shy little girl. And so I end up playing a lot of just very like vanilla, like normal bars and breweries and whatever. I wrote this song, My Darling, to disclaim Brat so people didn't think I was like a psycho. But if I could go back and re record Brat, I would have My Darling be part of the song. My darling, he'd never heard a fly. He is gentle, he is kind, and I'm the apple of his eye. But lately, I've been feeling kind of crazy. So I tell him, won't you come a little closer, and I'll show you just exactly what I need. Human made, even when it's ruining me, I know you're no good for me. Human made, even when it's ruining me, I know you're no good for me. But baby, won't you hear me? I like it when you're angry, I like it when you yell, I like it when you hit me just in case you couldn't tell. It lets me know you see me for who I really am. So who you really are can maybe play pretend. When you pull my shadow with a heavy hand, I turn into gel. Oh God, I want a man who wrecks me like I wreck me, who ain't afraid to check me. Take me to the limit when you give it to me. Human me, even when it's ruining me. I know you're no good for me, but daddy, won't you human me? Human me, play into the fantasy. Tell me what you'll do to me in order to get through to me. I can be an angel, I can be a brat. Just when you think you'll get it, you'll forget it. When I crack on you, cranking up the tension for negative attention. If I don't wanna listen, affection. Just show me how you get me when I don't get myself. Take that girl I hate and make her someone else, and tell her that she's evil and none of this is real, and make her pay for being such a bully to me, human being. Whoa, no, no, no. Yes, I'm still a feminist, just humor me. Ooh, and I don't need a therapist, just humor me. Whoa, no, no, no. It's just another masochistic tendency. Ooh, take me to the limit when you give it to me.
Woo! Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. I forgot one line that actually shook me to my core the first time I heard it. Take that girl I hate and make her someone else. I don't know how I didn't bring it up until now because that was the line. That was the line that was like, I remember where I was when I heard, I was like listening to it.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh shit, yeah. Because I jokingly say I hate myself, or I used to. I used to. This is like something I've obviously worked on. But that line, I was like, yes, that's all I ever wanted was for someone to take that girl I hate and make her someone else. And I
Yes.
felt that release during it. Sorry. I was like, that's the line I need to talk to her about.
It's, I feel like for somebody to do that, they have to see that person, that shadow self, you know, they have to see that side of you, and to even show someone that side of you takes a lot of vulnerability and strength, period. And then when you're in a DS dynamic where, you know, there's like, there could be rules involved, there could be goals involved, like that, having that collaboration is so healing, like especially when you have these parts of you that are hard to look at, having someone else look at them and see them and still show up for you is crazy. Like it's just amazing.
Yeah. And that's what all relationships are, a collaboration.
Mhm.
The DS side of it is just like a deeper version of that, or a
Yes.
bonus side of it. Thank you so much. So, what are you working on now? What's next for you?
I have a song that's coming out very, very, very soon. It's coming out
Ooh.
February 7th, called Bad Thing. She is bluesy. She is very like, has a lot of like bratty little baby girl energy to her, very much like the brat on the playground kind of vibe. And I'm like, during the chorus, me and my producer literally are playing like hand games, like for the percussion and stuff. It's
Oh
great.
my gosh, I
And
cannot wait.
it's gonna be so soon. I'm so excited about it. So February 7th on streaming platforms, and then January 27th on Patreon is when that comes out.
You are not just on Spotify, you are also on Instagram and TikTok. TBD if TikTok is even
Yeah.
around, but so people can also follow you on Instagram, and your handle is,
It's DeoreBby.
please go follow Deore. Because it's the new year, I want to start a new question tag where your question will be asked of my next guest. So any question.
If you had to relive one day of your life over and over again, Groundhog Day style, what day would that be?
Holy shit, that's a great question. Damn. Okay, I cannot wait to ask them that question. So next week's guest will get that. Thank you for asking such a really good question. And because you're starting this trend for 2025, do you want to answer your own question?
It'd probably be the day that I rode my bike to the bus station and met my dom slash husband there.
I'm obsessed with this story. I really had to hold myself back from just obsessing over every detail of your love story because I'm a romantic at heart. Also a kinkster, but such a romantic. Did you know at like when you left the bus station, like, oh damn, I have a crush?
No.
You just thought you met this fun, like you met up with your
Yeah,
fun friend?
literally, he started really liking me and we're talking, but I didn't want to date him yet because I wasn't done being a hoe. And so I was like, I don't want to commit to this, you know? I just remember we were still talking and I was driving in my car and I just thought, like, oh my God, like I would hate my life without this guy. I don't want to go on with my life without him in it. Like it just seemed so unappealing and like not great. And I was like, that's how I knew he just needs to be here.
Whoa, that hit me like I just felt like the impact of that statement.
I had like called him and I was like, okay, I want to be your girlfriend now. Like this, I want this to happen. And he
Oh,
was
so he had been asking, and you were
like,
like, no, 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 no. And then you're like, oh, actually, You know what? I can't live without you, so why not?
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I called him. I was like, I want to be your girlfriend now. And he was like, okay. And then like a week passed and I sent him the relationship request on Facebook. And
Oh, wow.
he was like, oh, I had no idea we were in a relationship.
What?
So we joke, we had two dating anniversaries, the day that like I started dating him and the day he started dating me.
That is hilarious. So glad that this collaboration is constantly like an evolving process between you both, even to
Yeah,
the
we don't
day.
take anything seriously at all. It's just
Yeah. It is such a good like that is such a good love story and kink story, all of the above. Did you have signs that he would make a good dom?
oh my gosh. I remember one time we were still long distance at the time and we had like gotten in a fight like over text and like we weren't kinky at the time or anything. I was in the wrong like during this fight. And so the way he was like bringing that to my attention and like showing me and like teaching me like in that moment of how he would like to be addressed and how to like remain respectful during that interaction. I was just like, whoa, like, oh my
Yeah.
God. I was like, this is kind of wow. Like, I had this thing in my head. I was like, man,
Yeah.
like, he gets it.
Even though he didn't get what he was getting in your mind,
Yeah, I knew he
he
didn't know.
did.
I knew. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. And he's just so like empathetic and kind for any D type. Like that is the ultimate green flags is like somebody that just like genuinely wants to take care of you and be a good partner and listen and like all these things. So all these very vanilla kind of qualities, that was a sign to me that he would do really well.
I mean, that's a great sign. And I completely agree. Empathy is one of the number one things I look for in a D type. Because if they
Mhm.
can't be empathetic, then we're just not going to work. And I question whether I won't get into it. I have reservations about people who lack empathy in relationships at all, but
Yeah, me
topic for
too.
another time. Deore, I'm not just saying this. I love your music. It makes such a huge difference. And I think that you are so desperately needed in this space. There is nobody else doing what you're doing. I've looked for it.
I looked for it too. And that was like part of the reason why I kind of branded myself this way because I process so heavily, and a lot of people process so heavily in music. And also, like, music makes you feel less alone and it like speaks to experiences. And there's nobody that's like overtly doing this. I feel like
No.
there's always like people dabble in it a little bit. Like, there's some songs that kind of get into it. But even in those instances, the songs that I've heard usually tend to be one dimensional and hypersexualized, which is like fine, but it's like, it's not, it's so vast. Like, the experience of being a kinky person is not just whips and change. Like, that's just not how it is.
No.
There's
That's
so
such a
many.
small percentage of how we spend our lives kinky.
And there's so many identities and there's so many ways to play and there's so many thoughts and emotions that motivate those ways to play and like there's just it's such a rich fertile ground for art and I am just honored to make it and I'm honored to participate in the community and just exist here.
I'm so grateful you're out there doing this. You are an amazing Instagram creator, right? You're making videos all the time. I wish I had that dedication to making content the same way you do.
It
You're
is.
so good.
Thank you so much. It's really hard actually, because that doesn't come naturally to me. Like, I don't set out to be like an Instagram creator. I literally just did it because that's how music marketing works now. And so I was
Wait,
like,
me too. For coaching, I was like, oh, I know
yeah,
this is a secondary thing, but that's how, yes, I found you through that.
yes. And it's like, it can be fun, but it felt so good to like get back into the studio and start creating music again because I kind of had a bit of an identity crisis where I was like, oh my God, is this me now? Like, am I just an Instagram creator? Like no shade at all to Instagram
No,
creators.
I get it.
That just doesn't light my fire, like specifically. So I'm excited for the new stuff I'm gonna make with this next song. It's hilarious. It's gonna be funny.
Girl, you've given me hope. I swear to fucking God.
Ah,
As I date,
give
it's
me
so
hope.
hard.
It's so hard out there. Like it really, really is. And especially today, I feel like dating has become this thing of like the ends justifying the means of like all this pressure is put to where you're like hoping for this ideal situation where they become the person. It's so hard to create relationships like that.
I love your story because so many people are like, I don't want to teach a dom. And like, you teach people how to love you every day, no matter what. So, like, stop saying you don't want to teach someone to be a dom. I get get it, not wanting a totally vanilla person. You want someone who's at least curious or willing and open. But geez, sometimes you do have to teach.
I feel like people are like sabotaging themselves with that mindset because like there's so many people who make phenomenal DOMs who just aren't exposed to it yet or don't realize.
Yes.
And I feel like if you ask any a Dom, like if you just put out a poll of like, how did you realize you're a Dom or when did you start being one? A lot of those answers are like, I met a sub, like, and they showed me, you know, just find a person you're compatible with first and that you genuinely connect with first. And if they care about you and want to care for you in the way that you need, then they'll be willing to try it. And if they like don't like it, then that's fine. Then it doesn't work. It's hard to find batteries included DOMs just anywhere.
This is really great. I don't know. I'm not even following your advice though, because I've had two long-term relationships. One where like I did do the teaching, but it just still didn't click the same way. So now I'm dating someone or about to go on a second date with someone who does match all the kinky stuff first. And I'm like, let me try it this way. Let me find the
Yeah.
perfect kinkster and see you. And we get along just fine talking. Like, let's see how this goes.
Even today, like in my relationship, you know, I'm still doing a lot of teaching and it's so hard for me to differentiate like I'm teaching to am I topping from the bottom or like am I teaching or am I your dom because I'm the one guiding
Yeah.
and all this stuff. And it's like those mind fucks that I like experience like make it kind of difficult. And so we're constantly talking about it and constantly like changing course.
Because you kind of have to. But on
Yeah.
that point, I know myself. I would top from the bottom and pretend I was teaching. I would be like, no,
Yeah.
no, you're getting this wrong. Like, or I would just be
Yeah.
so condescending about it and make them think I would mind fuck them on purpose because I'm an asshole sometimes. Not even a brat.
Oh my God, I could be so fucking bitchy. And it's like sometimes I'll think of things that I could say, and I'm like, I shouldn't say that. Like,
How's your Discord going?
it's going really good. I love that community. I love being over there but more than being on Instagram because
Yeah.
there's less of the outside traffic and I don't have to worry about getting tarred and feathered in the town square as much like over there. What I really like about it is there's a kink space in my Discord and there's like other channels for other conversation. And so there's like arts and crafts and like literal puppies and kitties is like one of the channels. It's just like people's
And
pets.
do you moderate it yourself?
Me and my Dom moderate it, and we have a team of mods as well. And
Yeah.
my Dom has his name's Dadman on there. But it's so hilarious because it's a space where people can brat to each other and the Doms can Dom the brats in a consensual way, like all over the Discord. And
Shit.
so
I need
there's
to be
a
on your Discord.
it's hilarious. And so like people, the brats will brat, and then like the doms will come in, and then what we do is we throw tomatoes at the doms. It's so we just like we spam a bunch of tomato emojis like on what they're like saying as a way to be like no. And we
Hmm.
have a lot of in real life dom sub couples like on the Discord, and so they'll get like punished in real time. We have like a bunch of roles to where you can assign yourself your identity, like are you dom sub switch, puppy, kitty, like whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then we have like the consent role of like you can brat to me, you can dom me, and do not do either of those things to me. So you know if it's cool or not. And then like ages and like all that stuff.
Are you working full time or is
Not
this your?
anymore. I was a nurse at a trauma hospital. It was exhausting. It was just really hard. But I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just focusing on this right now and just seeing kind of like what happens.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing too. And I'm like, I coach now. Basically, I want to make my podcast a thing.
I don't listen to many Kink podcasts, but I did listen to a couple of your episodes and I just like loved who you
Oh,
had on so far. I wish I remembered his name, but the Spanko was
oh my God.
fantastic. I was like
Yes.
taking notes. I was like, oh my God, this guy is like in my head. I'm like, this is like cool.
Yeah.
I remember being in like high school and I would read internet smut about like spanking and all that
Mhm.
stuff. And I was just like, frothing at the mouth about it, just being like, oh my God, like I fucking love this. Like this is great. But I
I
don't watch
know.
porn either. Like it's the same reason why I'm not really attracted to a lot of like kinky music, is it's too
They're
perfect.
not grasping it. I don't feel like the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mind fuck that it and that is what you do. You grasp the mind fuck of it all.
It's all a mind fuck. Everything's a mind fuck.
Yes, I mean,
I've got one of my reels that I posted like a little bit ago. My best friend, I fucking love her. She's a romantasy author, and
oh, okay.
she's great. Her name's Courtney Shack, but she calls like the general public on the internet the great unwashed.
I like that.
Just the people, the trolls specifically.
Yeah.
And so one of my reels got pushed, and I'm just like, the great unwashed came, and they were just, you're encouraging domestic violence, and just like getting like just fucking slammed by it. And it was on the Brat song. I think I'm gonna use the last line of like, yes, I'm still a feminist, just humor me. Like,
Yes.
it's self-aware. Like, I fucking know. Like,
I know. I also love that it's almost like the disclaimer at the end of your song. Like, relax. This is all part of feminism, by the way. I'm choosing this. It's consensual. People not understanding consent is actually the scarier thing. These people yelling.
Oh my God. And they're like, you're just perpetrating oppressive power structures and this and that. And I'm just like, well, how come me being a female like makes submission dirty? Because you're the one assuming that females are submissive. By this logic, you're saying that being a woman is inherently submissive and there's no room for submissive men or non-binary people. That's wild to me. It's crazy by that narrative. So the people who are like woke and they're like, you're, not a feminist. It's like, you're the one saying women are submissive by coming at me like this. Like,
I know. I don't even know what wave of feminism we're in or what that is when they think like we can't. This is what we fought for. It's like we get to play with these dynamics now as opposed to being forced into certain things.
I heard of the best metaphor for it. I forget who said it. I did not come up with it. And it was comparing CNC to a haunted house. And it's like people will literally pay money to go inside of a haunted house and be scared. And like you don't come out harmed, like you're never in any real danger, but you're literally going and purposely putting yourself in a situation that's uncomfortable for the thrill of it, right? You have something as normal as a haunted house, and then you have something that is like countercultural like CNC, and it's like there's a cognitive dissonance that's happening here. I think eventually we'll get there, but it's like people just don't understand.
And that is why we need you and me and all of these other kinky creators out there constantly talking about it more openly so that we can get pushed to the nether regions of the socials, having the conversation, because I do think it is helping.
Oh my gosh. And like your insight is so valuable, like your whole page and just the way
Thank you.
Very approachable. Like I feel like the way you do Instagram is just very tangible and approachable, which is like, I respect that a lot because it just makes kink seem more accessible.
It's a branding move. I want to be the girl next door so people realize everyone's kinky, or at least so many more people than feel comfortable letting on. Deore, thank you so much for taking the time for coming on the podcast. I was so excited when you agreed to be on, and this has been even more fun than I expected.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I was so excited when you messaged me about it, and I'm just so honored to be here and just so happy that we got to chat. It's amazing. It's been amazing.
Oh, yay. Okay, this will not be the last time you are on the podcast. So this is
awesome.
Yeah. I mean, well, if you're going to keep releasing music and I'm going to keep being obsessed with it, we're going to have to dissect it on different episodes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Follow Deore on Spotify. Go listen to all of her music, and on Instagram at Deore BBY. So her name with BBY at the end. That's all I'm going to say. Deore, thank you so much. All right.
Thank you so much. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with anyone who might find it interesting. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out. Email info@thekinkconsultant.com. Until next time, keep on kinking on.